Okay, so we interviewed Tulsi Gabbard 6 weeks ago, and she was holding a press conference saying we should not support the rebels in Syria. We should make nice with Assad. And I haven't seen the background on this, but they're saying people are now attacking her. And then I have this other comment from Tammy Stabley saying the Syrian people do not believe Assad gassed his people. They don't buy it. It's mainstream media hype. This is a false flag operation.
You know, and this is part of the overall distrust that there is out there. You know, the inspectors have not really finished, examining the situation. The argument that the U.S. makes to say that Assad did this strike, did this gassing, is that it came from the air, and the only people in the air are the Assad Air Force, and the Russians and the U.S. obviously, of course, but the rebels don't have planes. In other words, now what the rebels say is that there was a chemical depot that Assad bombed, not necessarily knowing that it was a chemical depot, or maybe did, whatever. It bombed it, and it was the explosion of that depot that led to the fatalities. That's the story that they're telling. I haven't looked into it close enough to be able to offer any kind of serious opinion.
We would like to be told the reasons for an act of war and have those reasons be true, and know for a fact that they're true.
That would be a first, probably. I mean, Gulf of Tonkin was a lie that started the Vietnam War. The weapons of mass destruction did not exist in Iraq. So there is a lot of reason for people to be skeptical, and this is how all countries launch war. When we went to war in 1848 against Mexico, we said that they came across the border and killed some American soldiers, and it turned out, no, that actually wasn't true. That never happened. They just wanted a war because midterms were coming up.
People are concerned about Tulsi. They like Tulsi. One person said Tulsi is our new Bernie. Bernie's a sellout. Now Tulsi's the savior. And Karen says, why are Democrats so hard on Tulsi Gabbard? Is it because she's a Bernie supporter?
I don't think that's why. There are Keith Ellison's a Bernie supporter, and he has broad support within the Democratic Party. He didn't win the DNC race, but he came within a couple votes of it. Tulsi has not done a terrific job at winning over people, inside the caucus. And with any politician, some of it is the positions that you're taking, and if those are the positions you believe in, good for you. And some of it is just political skill, and she's come up against some walls that she has not been able to climb over. I think people are awfully skittish about the fact that she traveled over secretly and met with Assad. And they're nervous about seeing her question the intelligence that are around the chemical weapons. It's something that makes people in Washington extraordinarily uncomfortable. They worry that what she is saying veers toward support of a dictator like Assad. In actual tangible support of him. I mean, I think that's probably the best way to sum up where the kind of mainstream view is, and I don't actually think it has anything to do with Bernie.
Okay.
You have time for one more, maybe?
I just want you to clarify, do you think that Assad is responsible? Just your gut.
Right.
Because you seem to say anything's possible.
Right.
And I just wanted to allow you to be as clear as you want to be.
On Assad and the chemical weapons?
Whether exactly what happened.
Yeah, so I mean, my gut, which is probably not worth much, and from talking to people who are in the intelligence community and hearing their explanations for why they think that Assad did this, I do find it somewhat persuasive that it does appear like Assad had some motivation to carry out this attack for some some political kind of military propagandistic value to him. So the motive may have been there. The motive certainly was there. The means were there, and the intelligence seems to say that it that it was dropped from the air. which would link it to Assad. So if I had to put money on it, I would put money on that. But I haven't read. There haven't been enough inspections or investigations to know clearly. It really is a case where I would certainly not put it past some of these other groups to have tried something to pin it on Assad, or the story of the of missiles hitting airstrikes hitting a chemical depot is also not terribly implausible. I really don't know all the facts on the ground, so that's just kind of a gut take.
Okay, there's a lot of talk about a pipeline going through Syria and that being the reason why Russia has Syria as a client state.
Pipelines tend to be more secondary geopolitical kind of consequences rather than drivers of them. And I think a little bit too much credit gets given to pipelines when it comes to policy and diplomacy. Russia has many reasons above that in order to want to cozy up to Syria. It is in an extraordinarily desirable spot, and also the way that Iran supplies Hezbollah, which destabilizes Israel, which is a key goal of kind of the anti-Western bloc, is through Syria. So if you lose Syria, Hezbollah gets cut off, and then you lose Hezbollah as well. And if Iran loses both Syria and Hezbollah, Iran's influence in the region plummets. If Iran's influence in the region plummets, Russia's influence in the region plummets. So you kind of don't need to go beyond that. That's kind of enough for somebody like Putin or anybody else who is leading Russia and playing these power games to do.
Okay, two more quickly, okay? So Dean Hawley said, motive, what motive, in response to Assad having a motive to drop...
So this is the argument for why Assad would have done it. It would be to say, okay, you guys think that you're going to wear me down and that I'm going to come to some negotiated solution with these collected rebel groups that are meeting in hotels with diplomats and working towards some type of resolution. He's like, well, guess what? There's nothing holding me back. I'm going to annihilate you, and I can do whatever I want because Donald Trump is in the White House and he's a friend of Vladimir Putin, who is my ally, and here's how I'm going to prove to you that I can do whatever I want. Boom. Like that's the story that would be told of what Assad's motivation to launch an attack like this would be, to say, I can do this.
I heard on NPR one of the experts they interviewed was saying that Assad wanted to drive a wedge between Putin and Trump.
That to me doesn't necessarily make sense. He benefits by having Trump and Putin, together, and so it would be a miscalculation from my perspective if that's what he was trying to do.
Okay, Kim Hightower says, wasn't the 2013 chemical weapons attack debunked as not Assad doing it?
There are still people that don't believe that he did it. Most people, most people who've looked at it feel like it was Assad. But it's a region with so many, bad competing actors that it really is hard to know for sure. But no, it was never conclusively debunked. But there are certainly people that question it.
Who killed more people last year, the United States or Syria, or Assad?
Let's say the Syrian government.
Yeah. Or
the United States government. We could probably figure that out, but I would assume it would be the United States government.
Really?
Wow. If I had to guess.
And how is that? Where do the numbers rack up?
I mean, we've just dropped so many thousands of tons of bombs on Yemen and Syria and Iraq that they've taken out an awful lot of people.